So, I was just wanting to show you a bit of revision on these toes and get you up to date with everything here, Jason.
Yeah.
So we got the different bands that are coming down. We've got like the big toe belly band and the big toe sacrum band coming like this. And then basically becoming one and coming from right in here. So it's actually quite a specific area. So this is the band, it's coming through here. And then it's coming up here. Now it's hard to feel, but it's going to be about, you know, depends on the size of the person, but here on Peter, we're looking at about, you know, maybe 6 millimeters away from the nail bed. And then coming down through here. So we don't want to go too close to the nail bed or to the nail itself. But yeah, about there. All right. And then of course, you know, we're looking for any of the anchor points that are holding that and just getting him to breathe, especially because he's not used to this sort of thing. But yeah, it's specific to here. And here, I'm feeling the band. Okay, so it's actually coming like basically through here. All right, so we don't want to go too far over there. We don't want to go, you know, I'll show you this in a minute when we come to the other band. But this is, so we're really trying to find, okay, where is it holding? It might be holding like right in here, but it's going to be along this line here. Okay, and so that's what you're sort of doing is you're going, okay, am I feeling it? And this, because it's hard to feel physically here. I can feel it physically here as a band. Okay, and he definitely feels it. He feels it physically all through there, and it's definitely through here and through here. But energetically, I feel it here. Okay, so. And that's something, if you're not sure though, just feel where it's coming. But this is pretty much where it goes on everybody. It just goes that little bit away from the nail and it's right in there. Okay, and those are, like I say, they're reflex points for the head, but they're also the ends of this band, which comes all the way up through the belly, into the throat and into the head, or this band here is gonna come all the way up into the back of the neck. Okay, right up into here, and then causes headache. So this area in the big toe is actually incredibly important because it as well as being the reflex zone for the head, it's also the end of these two bands. Now we do have one other band that also comes into the big toe, and that's what we call this delta band. So the delta band is going to run up beside the shin here on the outside. Here's the shin bone, and it's running up here, and you can feel, I don't know if you can see that, but it's very tight through here. You see that flicking over, it's super tight in there. That's going to be coming here, and it's made up of this tendon, which is coming through here. It was quite easily visible on you yesterday. On him, you can't see the tendon so easy, but it's coming right across the front of his toe here, and it comes into here. Now, this is a very precise spot because if we go too close to this big toe, it's going to be in the nail bed, and it's going to cause a bad pain. So we need to start very precisely about here. This is still can be very, very painful for a lot of people, but we don't want to cause that bad pain by pushing in here in a hard manner or right in there. Okay, if we do so, we go very gently. And this can be very, very sore. So as we then come away from the nail, then we can go more firm. Again, working up to their pain threshold. So if his 10 is where he's going to pull away, and I can feel that right in there. Can you see how I'm flicking over that? That's a huge flick. He's very, very tight in there. Yeah. That again also does relate to the face and the head in reflexology. So areas like his teeth and his jaw are all going to be through this area, as well as the pineal gland, the pituitary gland coming all through here. So a lot going on in the big toe, but that's how to do this really well. And then the other thing is that on this side of the big toe, we've also got part of a band of tension, and it's coming through here and along here. All right, and then that actually comes in here and also then joins up to become part of this tendon. The reason we call this the delta band is because it's actually composed of tension from here, but also tension from this toe and this toe. So including bands coming across the front here, which you can feel, and from the side here. And again, we would work it from around here, away from the nail a little bit, but underneath it, there's a charge that's tiny. It's what we call micro tension, and it's the micro tension that becomes the bigger tension up into here. And you can see here we're working close to his pain threshold. He's, you know, we just encourage him to breathe a bit more, but I can feel how tight he is through here. Super tight, okay? And again, we can encourage him to breathe or to scream. That's like locked up in there. That's just what I call shocking. Super tight. So we got some serious work there to do, but all of that, and then on this side as well, through here. So we would start in here and work our way along the outside here of the toe. And in there now, I'm flicking over that, and that's highly charged. I call it highly charged because I think of it as like an electrical charge that's like a blockage in the flow of chi or the electrical circuits, and that's what we're trying to open up in a subtle energy. Even though it's manifesting physically as physical tension, we think about, okay, what caused this physical tension? To me, it's a blockage in the subtle energy, or the chi, what the Chinese talk about, or ki is in Japanese. And it's this subtle energy blockage that we're trying to shift. It also then manifests physically as things like acid crystals and different things, and we're flushing that into the bloodstream. We're opening up that flow chi, and then we're letting it go, and all these are then anchor points for higher up. So again, we've got this toe from, which I just showed you, from these 3 bands on either side, like mini bands within a band, and the same here, and then here, and then here, and all of them making these tendons tight. These 3 tendons, which then become this delta band here, and then of course it follows up into here, and becomes that incredibly tight spot that we've got here in Peter's belly right there. I'm hardly touching him. It's supercharged, okay? Like that. But if I just was to rub that without doing all this detail work, it would just be too much for him. But again, with all of this, we're probably seeing a lot of emotional charge. So as we unwind this tension and we loosen it, we're going to be pushing it this way, like we were describing yesterday, to squeezing the tube of toothpaste, getting whatever it is that's caused this tension out of him. It's going to come out through the breath, through crying, through screaming. It could come out through pimples. It could come out through oiliness, through sweat. It can come out through farting, through burping, whatever, screaming, okay? So this mixture of gunk, what we call just crap, basically, just all sorts of manners of crap. That's why I say sometimes we're like a glorified sewage worker. We're just working with all of this gunk and trying to get rid of it, okay? So that's what we're doing. We're starting at the ends of the bands here, so we'll keep going with that. And then similarly, we've got the upper little toe band, and that's going to come in through right in here. So you can feel that right here. We've got the delta band here. We've got the upper little toe band here. And that one actually comes from this toe. So the 3 parts of this toe, the side, the top, cross here, and also the inside of the little toe, and to a certain extent the top of the little toe. And very important pressure point, of course, being here after you've loosened up the toes really well. That then comes up here and travels parallel to the delta band, which is coming through here. And this one's then going to come on the outside. So here's the delta band, upper little toe band, and then that gets him in there, and he's charged in there as well. And then you've got the outer little toe band on the very outside, which will be easier to see on this foot. But yeah, you know that one pretty well, right? That's going to come in through here. So again, working from this part of the little toe and around here, and then along here and around the outside of that ankle, and then becomes what people call the iliotibial band, okay, IT band that people talk about. And he's quite tight in there, but it's actually not his worst one. Some people can become, like where it's like a steel cable. He's probably a 7 out of 10 tight there, whereas some of his other bands are much higher than that. So yeah, that was just a bit of revision. So main areas, like I said, just don't go too close to the nail here, especially with this one, because it's a very painful area. Don't go in too close, like in through here either, okay? And especially if somebody's got like an ingrown toenail or something, unless you really know how to put the ingrown toenail back in or whatever. So you were staying a little bit wide of the nail, okay? Yep. Yeah. Oh, there we go, bit of a click. And for you, Peter, we just encourage you to take a big breath right into your belly throughout the whole treatment. So into what we call the dantian, which is about an inch or two, or for those in metric, about 3 or 4 centimeters below their belly button. Okay, depends on the size of the person. And at the same time, feel free to let go of any noise that you want to make.
A lot of rolling over the band.
Yeah, so
Perpendicular.
I don't recommend sliding over the band with a chopstick. It'll feel like you're cutting the person. Okay, you would, and I don't recommend doing this with any kind of cream or oil or anything, because you won't be able. One, your fingers will be. You won't be able to hold the chopstick. So you would do this if you're going to use oil in a massage. You'd always do this first.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you're actually holding the skin and moving the skin over the band rather than doing that, which feels like you're cutting the person. Okay.
I see.
Yeah. So I usually get it and then I move it across while just maintaining that contact with the skin.
Yeah.
And you'll feel it's a huge difference in how it feels. And always just trying to figure out what's the maximum that he can handle without tightening up against us, and working just under that. Here I'm pushing him close to his limit, and then let him have a breath. And we work like waves in the ocean, so we can work intensely and then drop it down. So we might be working 9s or 10s, and then 7s or 6s or 3s, and like that. So like a wave. This is tight through here. I usually stop using a chopstick about here too, because this can become quite sensitive through here, and I'd use either another tool or my finger. Oh, this is so tight. You know, when you've been massaging a while and you massage somebody really tight, you feel sad how people can go through life with all this tension. Then you think, oh, well, sometimes I have, you know. But yeah, it's horrible. Horrible having tension.
It's constant.
Yeah.
It's not something you can get rid of, really.
No, there's not many ways. I mean, a bit of stretching can help and things like that, but it's hard to get all this tension out, the micro tension out of your toes. I've even massaged people that are into yoga and everything, and they can have low tension.
Okay.
Does help, you know, all the stretching and stuff for sure. Nice. And yeah, over the years, this is what I found to be incredibly important, is just this detailed work on toes and stuff. Because I went and got a couple treatments yesterday at a shiatsu and a lomi lomi here in Honolulu, or over in Honolulu, I should say. And you know, it was okay. Both treatments were okay. Still nice, but I found they didn't really do much detail at all on the hands or feet, you know.
Right.
And that's where I feel personally that you're going to get your deeper excavations, your deeper releases, and that sort of thing, you know, just doing a thorough job. That's why I say two of the qualities that I think make a good massage therapist are patience and perseverance.
Well, I mean, I've seen it myself, your own evolution. I mean, think of what you were doing
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, it was a
You
lot
know,
stronger even in
you
some
were
ways,
always
pushing
telling
it.
the toes,
Yeah,
but you were still using a lot of energy to get these major areas.
yeah,
Where the last treatment you gave me, you spent so much time on the toes, and you still release these areas, but with a fraction of the effort.
that's right, that's right. So hopefully as I get older, I get wiser. Have less energy, but I know how to use that energy better. So there's even tension coming down from the middle line here as well, coming right into the middle here of this big toe. Yeah, what happens is it's just that the skins become very thick on a lot of people's big toes, and so we can't necessarily feel the tension, but that doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that early stage acupuncture originated with sharp rocks, you know, so in some ways this is a little bit like perhaps early stage acupuncture.
Right. What do you find the differences between this, your style and have you got much acupuncture?
Yeah, I've had quite a bit of acupuncture. A lot of it depends on who does it and how tuned into the chi they are. You know, that's what I find with acupuncture. You get some people, I've had doctors, and they don't really, and I'm not to say that all doctors like this, but I had one doctor, and he couldn't really feel what he was doing. He was just like, oh, this is where it's supposed to go, this is where it's supposed to go, you know?
Yeah.
Theoretical.
Right. Not actually.
But they don't actually sense what they're doing, you know, and
Yeah.
I found probably 70–80% of acupuncturists I've been to have been like that.
Yeah.
And but I think if somebody has that sense for chi and how it flows, then yeah, you're gonna probably get some. You know, they go, oh, I'll put the needle right in here because I can feel there's a blockage. You know?
Yeah.
But I actually had a conversation with a guy who did both shiatsu and acupuncture, and he actually said he prefers acupuncture because you feel it more. You know. And that to me is the essence of what it takes to be a good therapist. So you can see here, it's it could be producing a slight sense of discomfort here for Peter.
Yeah.
Can you feel that at all, Peter? Like maybe a slightly uncomfortable sensation? Yeah, yeah.
You know, my toe is breaking.
Yeah. No, it should be all right. Loosening up. Always, Peter, if ever you want us to stop, you just say stop, okay? Otherwise, I like to always just work people, up to what they can handle, let them make some noise out, even some comments, or we all like to have what I call a good whinge in Australia. Good whine over in the US, I suppose, whining and whinging, feel sorry for ourselves a bit. But if ever the treatment feels like, oh, can't handle it, just say stop or please go easier, okay? Otherwise, we're just going to keep working at what we think is best for you.
Right.
He's doing pretty well. Like for his first,
Yeah.
you've given him one treatment before?
Yeah, it was nothing like this. Intensity. It was,
Yeah.
just kind of hanging out and
Yeah.
moving some stuff. I just noticed his chest was so tight. I was doing a lot of his chest, getting breathing going. 'Cause he was having a tough time breathing.
Yeah.
And knees, I think I got into pretty good. I mean, his toes a little bit as well.
Yeah, to me, when we actually do the feet properly, it's like a complete restructure from the bottom up, and then you do the hands properly, and you're really restructuring the person. tighten this toe. Can you feel this a little bit here, Peter? Like almost like a slightly uncomfortable feeling,
Very uncomfortable.
mostly upon the application of pressure. Again, just keep that breathing going. You're doing well. Just think it's a lot better than going to a dentist.
This is good.
Oh, you found it? Cool.
Especially for here, I find sort of here. My thumbs
Yeah,
give
yeah,
it.
that's
I
right.
don't
Working
have-
on people's feet, it's
don't
it's hard on your hands.
I don't have the thumbs.
Well, I gotta be careful of my thumbs these days. Oops. Yeah, there's some charged up toes here. Oh, yeah. You felt this joint before, did you? Was this the one you were feeling? Like right in here?
Actually, this toe where he's really going with this.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, we just got to this one. This one's a mess. Highly charged, hey? Like they're just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like when I was, you know, I could tell when I was just like,
Yeah, yeah.
like,
yeah. But you know, like 10 hours of this, and yeah, I think he'll be like a new man, you know?
that'll be so
How long
nice.
have you been getting your headaches for? How many years?
Yeah, that's since childhood.
Since childhood, yeah. That's why I think this tension's been there since childhood.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what's, you know, what is it really asking 10 hours to get
Yeah.
rid of
A lifetime, lifeline.
headaches?
I mean, headaches suck, you know?
Oh, they're the worst.
Yeah,
It's just debilitate you.
yeah. And I mean, yeah, okay, here, we're working him at his pain threshold, you know, but, all right, it comes and it goes, and then every treatment will get better, it won't hurt as much.
For sure. The first is usually the worst.
Yeah, first,
then-
second, and third, yeah.
And then usually get, you know, the deeper stuff to get a little bit heavier again.
Yeah, and I
Get them
find
all
now,
going.
I just really like to emphasize working people just at that point, just before they're tightening up against me, you
Yeah.
know? And very rarely do I cross that, you know, so
Mhm.
that the person can get into that rhythm of breathing rather than kind of resisting the treatment, you know? You don't want them tightening up against you, you just want them kind of,
Yeah.
you know, working like that, where it's just like, yeah, okay, it's intense, but I can breathe into it, or I can cry into it, scream into it, it's bringing up whatever it's bringing up, we're letting it go.
Yeah.
But I'm not resisting, you
Yeah.
know, and because it's just sometimes that resisting kind of thing, it basically kicks in and you can't control it, you know,
Uh-huh.
or whatever. So you just build people up, and each treatment they're just going to get better and better,
Yeah.
you know. Sometimes it is the emotions that are like keeping them, because they want to keep in control, so they're keeping these emotions shoved down,
Yeah.
and we're trying to force them up.
Uh-huh.
And so they have to kind of, but the deep breathing will help alleviate that. And that's the occasional time where I might just push people just that little bit, just to kind of, you know, as
Yeah.
long as they're open for it, you know?
Right.
But
And
I'm
they
very
need it.
careful about that. Yeah. And then that's, it's more like where people say, well, I can't handle more, else I'll cry, or I can't handle more. Well, okay, well,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, well, that's probably emotion that's there if that's the case, you know?
Uh-huh.
So just cry, you know?
Yeah.
But in the end, the person should always be in charge. You know, like we're always working within what they're ready for. But we always explain and we encourage them. You know,
Mhm.
and then give them a little push if they're ready for it. Okay,
Yeah.
because sometimes it is hard working with people that are really wanting to stay in control throughout. You know, and it'll be like, well, we don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so the person has to have that trust in you that yeah, this is, you know, I trust you. You know, yeah, fine, push me. It might push me out of my comfort zone, but you'll push me into some emotion maybe that's been sitting there since childhood or since
Yeah.
a few years ago. It doesn't have to be from childhood. It could be from a year ago. It could be from 6 months ago. Yeah. And yeah, it's just fantastic when you do. I mean, it's just like once you, like, as you know, like, you know, once you get into that emotional release, it's the best thing to help you through so many different situations, you know. Divorce, I mean, so many people, I mean, having gone through my divorce, it was, as you know, you worked on me throughout it, you know.
Yeah.
Letting go of the emotions is what helped me to cope, you know what I mean? How many people, like, turn to drugs or suicide or different things when they're going through, you know, different emotional things, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Best off just letting that emotion out and then clearing it out so you're more present, you know.
Right.
And then you can just stay in the, you know, in the present without having all this baggage, you know.
And it just compounds, you know, it affects your digestion.
Yeah, it affects your
circulation.
digestion, everything, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, and a lot of it is childhood stuff. We've all had, you know, not everybody's had the easiest childhood, you know.
Yeah.
We're actually hoping to go and teach a course soon in Rwanda, in East Africa, where they had that genocide there about 20 odd years ago. So,
Wow.
you know, I really think even things like that will be like, it'll be quite interesting. I'll do some filming when I'm there, hopefully.
Yeah.
Just helping people that have gone through traumatic things, you know.
Uh-huh.
But you know, this is the kind of stuff that could be helping all those like Syrian refugees and, you know what I mean, people that have gone through war-torn things and escaping from Mosul in Iraq, or, you know, like this kind of stuff. It's a low-cost form of medicine. You know, you just, as long as people are trained up properly, can be so effective. And then people don't need to be taking all these anti-anxiety medications or anti-headache medications or you know, spasmodic medications because their muscles are so tight they're spasming, or, you know, so many different problems are caused by tension, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, today a lot of the world countries, first world countries in particular, their countries are becoming bankrupt because of their health costs, you know, as people age and are living longer, but they're not necessarily living healthier. So if everybody got a series of massages to excavate their tension, you know, whether that be 10 or 40 hours, and then maintain them once a week or once a month, the world would be a lot better place, you know. Create employment, massage therapists. Of course, pharmaceutical companies would, you know, probably not have as much money, and the global elite might not like it, you know. People probably wouldn't want to go to war as much either. Let out a lot of the buildup of rage. I mean, so many, you know, people got, you know, you go into some of these conflict zones, even like when we were in Northern Ireland, you know, around Londonderry or Derry, and you know, people are still tense from 30 years ago. You know, and what happened 30 years ago? You know, people all got in and just massaged each other, even especially get a bunch of people doing it across their cultural divides. You know, same in South Africa. You know, places like that. It was good. Even actually, we were teaching in Namibia recently, and getting white people and black people who previously have, you know, had conflict, massaging each other. It's a great path to peace. As long as people don't do revenge massage where they go too hard to hurt the person, you know. That's the problem with sometimes husbands and wives working on each other. Some people aren't like that, but you know. You never want to do that. You always want to make sure you're coming from that nice spirit of aloha, and, you know, it's just like the Hawaiian term for love and care for the person. Well, his toes are actually loosening up quite well. You know, they just needed a bit of gentle persuasion.
Uh-huh.
And I've got 3 of his toes quite a lot looser now. Starting to, you know, get some movement here. His breathing's good. He's he's kind of going with it,
Yeah, he's doing well.
Yeah, he's
Considering
doing well, considering it's
one person doing this is
yeah, fairly intense.
really intense.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're doubling up.
yeah. Shows he wants to get rid of his tension, which is a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing better working on somebody that's like, hey, I got a problem and I want to get better. I always use that analogy of Alcoholics Anonymous, like, or Narcotics Anonymous. The first thing they have to do is admit they got a problem.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, I'm John, I'm an alcoholic or whatever,
Right.
and I want to get better.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge, and that's a really important thing about treating people. If they don't have that, then it's really hard to work on them.
Yeah, so many people aren't aware and don't want to be aware.
Yeah, especially sometimes some of their emotional stuff that they might be sitting on might be uncomfortable for them. They don't want to admit, like you were talking about yesterday, some people don't want to admit that they're holding on to rage,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm a nice person. If I'm an angry person, I'm not a good person. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's just an emotion. You're not your emotions.
Right. I think that's it too. People get sort of connected to their emotions.
Yeah, they do.
They- I'm like this, I'm like that.
Yeah, that's right. Let's just let go of it. Just be yourself. Be in the moment. Be calm. Be peaceful.
And it actually causes a lot more stress because if you don't think you're an angry person, you don't get mad. And all of a sudden you feel rage coming up or mad because someone cut you off in traffic or something.
Yeah.
It's even worse because now you're going through an identity crisis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's even more stressful.
Yeah. And anger has its properties to protect yourself. Create protection. Yeah, and then you get all these people that are like passive aggressive and stuff like that. It just becomes deeper into the psyche. Nothing worse than somebody who's like, on the surface acting like they're being nice to you, but actually they're,
Right.
you know what I mean, being nasty underneath.
I don't think there's anything worse than that.
Yeah. You're like, wait a minute.
Most,
And that's often like that social programming where, oh, you can't display this emotion, but and that's why I think, like you see that sometimes more in women where they don't want to show their anger, you know what I mean? Or sometimes modern, it's changing as the generations change as well. But, and then in the older generation in countries like Australia, New Zealand, and in parts of America, men weren't supposed to be vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
And so then, they have 4 times the rate of suicide.
Mm.
Australia, men have 4 times the rate of suicide as women,
Wow,
especially
4 times.
high, 4 times, significantly higher,
That's way higher.
That's way higher, yeah. And I think a lot of it is because they try and maintain that, what I call a social mask, of like, oh, I'm okay, but really they're not, they're depressed
Yeah.
or whatever, they need to, let it out, have a cry, but then they think, oh, if I cry, I'm not a man. Stupid. It's like false identity. Somebody else has told them that, oh, this is how a man should be.
Right.
That's kind of why I like Polynesia, and Hawaii and stuff. And that's not all. Hawaii has its own problems. I like it where people can just be themselves,
Mm-hmm.
not just let go of emotions, not like get caught up and identify with them.
Hawaiians are good for that.
Yeah. They are.
I hung out with a lot of Hawaiians, played basketball. And
Yeah.
It's lots of, just seeing parents, being real with their
Yeah.
kids. There's no airs.
Yeah.
You gotta yell at your kid, It's like,
yeah.
and it's like, it's culturally accepted.
Yeah.
Your kid's an idiot. No one's coming up to that parent, or no one's like going, oh my god, the parent yelled at their kid.
Yeah.
You don't have any of that, right?
You get that in
Which is
Canada
great.
and Australia.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the child's perfect and pure and
That's-
innocent.
Yeah.
You've never had kids, have you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like it. A lot of people, it was funny because I was talking to people, because we live out in Makaha, you live in Waianae, obviously, and it's the place where people think it's like a ghetto out here, right?
Yeah.
But I think people are more real. They're not into fashion. Yeah, we got problems. There's people into drugs, and the Hawaiians have had their whole culture tried to be repressed.
Mm-hmm.
I always think it's interesting because they have that, the history of Lomi is here, and yet they made it illegal here, and you know what I mean? Illegal to practice their traditional massage and everything, but culture's been repressed. But in general, people are very just genuine,
Yeah, real.
real,
Yeah. Incredibly good social skills is what I would just say. Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna use it, like,
yeah.
because it's like it's really good with people.
Yeah, and they know how to, like, the kids are respectful to the elders, and it's good.
And
I like it. I love coming back here. I've been away a few years, and it's great. I love it. Hawaii's a special place, and I don't like it when all the, like, just, you know, people take it all so superficially, even the whole, you know, like, oh, it's just a place for hedonism or for, you know what I mean? Or just like superficial kind of aloha stuff, you know, like they don't even understand what aloha means, you know?
yeah, catchphrase.
Yeah. So getting into some nice points here.
Oh yeah.
Just in between here, so I've worked his little toe and his second toe here, so now I'm just giving that one a good squeeze.
Yeah.
And then I'm even working in between these metacarpals here,
Yeah.
and then just, you know, same old stuff I used to do there.
Shaking.
Yeah, shaking.
Releasing.
Yeah. I find this joint to be so important, you know, that this major big toe joint, it's just, to me, it holds so much. It holds so much, and it's not that easy to loosen, you know, you gotta
Yeah.
kind of really work it a bit.
Right. Yeah.
And then, you know, this point in here, I often stretch the foot and then just gently get that point and then move it like that, or
Yeah.
crank it a bit like that if he can handle it, which he's doing pretty well. You know, he's got a few comments, but generally he's... How you feeling, Peter?
No explanation.
No words.
Yeah.
Not even Swiss words.
All right, I've shown you this move, haven't I?
Yes.
This is always done coming inside, so towards the big toe. There's no resistance if you go the opposite way, right? So you get him to breathe in. You put the joint here in here, and this area here in here, and as they breathe out, you just work it like that. Sometimes you get a click. I didn't get a click this time. And then you can also just hold those points and work them like that.
Yeah.
Helps loosen up his foot a bit.
Right.
And you know this one where we pull the,
Uh-huh.
we support the back of the, and we keep the foot straight up, get him to breathe. Yeah, take a bit there. Whew. Definitely loosening up that foot.
Yep.
How you going on yours there?
Yeah. It's good, man.
These are such important areas too. I call these treasure troves, you know, just in the back of the ankle here. Just so
Yeah.
much energy gets stored in there.
Right.
Relate to the reproductive organs and reflexology, so a lot of sexual or reproductive problems can be in here, but I also find a lot of emotion, like a lot of obviously frustration and rage and all sorts of stuff can be in here. It's highly charged. That's why I call them treasure troves. I usually just hold and move the foot, or I just gently caress through there. So you can see it just sort of sliding on both sides. I'm just working that energy up. Again, can be kind of intense for a lot of people.
Yep.
All right, let's move up his leg.
Okay.